What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC, USD. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, my friends, and let's get into it. All right, it is the 16th of July. Here we are at 117, almost 118K, right there, just below 118K. 22 hours, 26 minutes left in the day. We're chilling, guys. We actually closed at a really nice spot yesterday with a very big wick to the upside. I would say it's about half of this day yesterday is all wick. The other half is body. I do want to say, just right off the bat, I wouldn't be surprised if today we came down a little bit more. Maybe we close down here, maybe we even close lower, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Typically with these big wicks to the downside, specifically the downside for whatever reason, we fill them, right? Like a big wick here, look at that very big wick. Most of that was a wick on that day, and you still filled it the next day. Here, big wick. Next day, you came down a little bit, and then you moved up. You moved up absolutely, and today might do the same thing. Maybe we come down, and then we have a bullish finish to the end of the day. We very well could close today green while simultaneously going below 117K again. I don't expect anything dramatic to happen. I don't think that we're going to return to like 111K, 110K, or anything like that, but understand that there are still doors open to the $115,000 to $114,000 area, maybe even 113K, right? We could go lower. It's possible that we could go lower. I just don't think, no offense to Bitcoin, I don't, or to the bears, maybe I should say, I don't think that we have it in us to go down here. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. I think all the people who sold, who wanted to get out, they already panic sold down here. They FOMO'd at the wrong, or they sold at the wrong time. They faded at the wrong time. They might have FOMO'd back in on this rally, and something like this, if they sold over here, or they sold throughout this time, a little shakeout of this magnitude would have shaken them out as well. So there's probably not too much selling pressure, right? But with that in mind, there are a lot of people going long, a lot of people going short, and if we're looking at this one-day Bitcoin long to short kind of ratio here, Bitcoin exchange liquidation map, there are a lot of shorts to be cleared out. $2.5 billion at $119,500. We're at 117.5, so that's about two grand away. There's about $2 billion to be cleared out at about 115K, which is about 2.5 grand away from here. But that's on the last 24 hours. If we look at the last 7 days, which the last 7 days really does encapsulate this kind of move, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, 8, 9 days, I guess, right? It really does encapsulate a lot of this move. There's a lot of longs. There's like actually $4 billion worth of longs down there at 14,500. I'm kind of under the assumption that we'll go down there, but understand, my friends, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. When looking at it like this, it might seem as though it's obvious that we go down here, but don't rely on that. Don't rely on that data, because we could very well, I've seen it. I mean, just as an example right here, right? If we go back to the one-day time frame, we were just up against these shorts here. We were just up against that, right? Why didn't we come up and clear this out? Why didn't we liquidate all those shorts, right? Because it doesn't have to happen. That's why, right? It's this self-fulfilling prophecy we get in our heads. So just because there's a lot of longs down here doesn't mean that we'll go down here, right? We actually got right up against that, and we still didn't clear these out. So we don't have to go down there. But if we were to go lower than this low here, if we were to go below like 116K again, I mean, that's a proper area. It would be 114 to 115K, somewhere in that zone, probably, if we were to find lower lows. We'll look at the short-term stuff. We'll see if we can get that. But again, just kind of going back in time, you see, big wick here, kind of filled it there. Big wick there, inevitably you filled it. Big wick here, you filled it. Big wicks here, you kind of filled it the next couple days, like throughout here, and then inevitably you grew. Big wick there, you filled it. Big wick here, you did not, or that's not really that big of a wick. Big wick here, later you filled it, yeah. Not always do you fill them, but a good bit of the time you do fill them. So as who is it? There's a guy that used to be on BitBoy's channel back whenever it was BitBoy Crypto, before all that crazy shenanigans happened. He used to say, what once was wicked will, what has wicked will get candlesticked, or something like that. And that saying is stuck with me. And most of the time, yes, what is wicked will get candlesticked, absolutely, which that means that we're going to close down here, or maybe even lower, because Bitcoin likes to mess with you, right? Bitcoin makes you money. You buy it, you hold it, it will make you money. It's a good hedge against the dollar and inflation. It'll continue to grow over time, of course, absolutely. But it likes to make it difficult for the people who are in it for the short term, who are trying to make the fast money, right? And what do I mean by make it difficult? I mean that whenever you have a big wick like this to the downside, you might think, oh, that's it, we're going up, because we just had a big wick to the upside. That meant we were going down. Now we're going to go up. But it's not that simple, right? Big wick to the upside here, continuing to move down. Oh no, the bull market's over, the bear market's beginning. But it's not that simple. Then we'll run, right? It's just like right when you're at your wit's end with this thing, that's whenever it goes at the opposite direction. At least that's how it is for me. So that's why I try not to trade it too much. I try to just buy and hold crypto. I think that's the best way to go about it. But looking at this yesterday, we did have a lot of volume come in. That was a lot of volume indeed, and that makes sense. It was a pretty volatile day. Both these days, the last 2 days have been volatile. So that, I mean, a lot of volume too on top of that. If we close here today or higher, if today were to close green or even neutral to some degree, we're in a really good position where we can bounce off the overbought zone. And getting overbought like this and then coming down, bouncing off the overbought zone, that sets us up for some pretty prime movements, right? Back here, we were doing stuff like that. And, over here, let's see if we can zoom this in a little bit. Bouncing off the overbought zone, and we saw some moves up. Little volatility, of course, and then continued to move up. We very well could see something of this magnitude, right? Remember, when Bitcoin was moving up here back in April 7th, we'd move up for 3 or 4 days, 5 days, and then we'd move sideways for a week. Then we'd move up, then we'd move sideways for 2 weeks. Then we'd move up, and we'd move sideways for a week. So here we are, basically moving sideways essentially for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days now. Maybe only 2 days if you actually count that high as the top, right? But we haven't been moving sideways for too long. We really could consolidate for a little bit longer. Thinking about it that way, today's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday and Friday. This could be it for the week, right? We might just hang out in this area until next week where we will begin to break out and move higher. That's kind of the expectation at the moment. That can change. If today closes green, you guys, if today closes green, I don't care how green it is, all the way up here, all the way up here. Of course, if it's up there, then that's a good thing. But if it closes just barely green, I think that puts us in a good position to bounce the next day, tomorrow, and get deeper into this overbought zone. Okay, we'd be in a very, very bullish circumstance right there. Looking at this here on the, sure, we can look at the 15-minute time frame. Let's do that real quick. Right, a lot of volume has died off. Looks like we're just kind of having an absence of volume since this very volatile moment here. I think what we have down here is a diamond pattern. It's an ugly pattern, but on the 15-minute time frame, it does kind of look appropriate, right? You've got this diamond shape, I would say, right here. I didn't draw it the best. It's kind of a soft curve there, but it's an ugly diamond, but it is a diamond. That's how you know it's a diamond. It's ugly, right? Let's see if I can draw that better. Get it like this. I can't curve the lines. Got to be straight with it. Something like that. Looks like a diamond to me. It doesn't have to look like a perfect diamond, right? It doesn't have to be this kind of thing. That's a parallelogram. I can't draw a perfect diamond, but it doesn't have to be this perfect thing. Typically, diamonds, I feel like they're given away by this little like zigzag in the middle like that. If we're looking at it here, we broke out. We went to the upside, and now we're stalling. Typically, a diamond pattern, they're known to move with high velocity, right? Very, very fast, right? Volatile inside the pattern and fast and decisive outside the pattern. So here when you broke, you moved up very fast. That's characteristic of a diamond pattern, but you're dying off here, which another characteristic thing of diamond patterns is you break out one way and then you pull back the other way, and you actually pull through the breakout point. So at this point in time, looking at the price and how it's going without really any volume on this breakout to begin with or any volume to follow through afterwards, we're finding resistance at the overbought zone here on the RSI. If we're looking at the RSI on that note, we had a downtrend in the RSI, broke out of it, kind of turned it into an uptrend, but I feel like this uptrend here, higher lows, higher highs, I feel like it's turning into a sideways trend here. And if you turn an uptrend into a sideways trend, it'll inevitably turn into a downtrend. That's kind of my perspective at the moment, right? You're getting oversold, but you're not getting overbought. That's not good. And you're not really being dominant above the 50. Sure, you've been dominant above the 50 for the last like few iterations here, but I don't know. Why aren't you? You've had like a handful of attempts to get overbought. Why aren't you doing that? You broke out of your diamond pattern, diamond bottom. Why aren't you moving higher? Your measure move would take you higher than this. Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you getting overbought? Why isn't any volume coming in? Probably because we got to go to wrecked city real quick for some of these longs. That's my assumption. That's my assumption. Billions, guys. $4 billion, $5 billion at $114.4 thousand. We're gonna have like basically $5 billion in liquidations across the board. Okay. Oh, we liquidate the longs, guys, and we can move up. The thing is, you want to liquidate the longs. You don't want people who are in long positions while we're riding up. Why? Because when a long closes, they have to sell. That's what that is. And they don't just sell their Bitcoin, they sell the borrowed Bitcoin too. So they're selling leveraged positions, very high and heavy-handed positions, right? So if we're moving up, imagine you're long, you move up this much, you're making a killing. You're going to have every reason to sell. That's going to hurt the performance, right? And the market makers, they want to send this thing higher. I mean, all of us, I think we want this thing to just blast through the roof, and maybe it blasts through the roof with or without clearing out those longs. But I'm just saying, it adds a lot of selling pressure. You want to ensure that we're going to move up higher. You got to get rid of the longs, unfortunately, right? Pile on the shorts, because when shorts get liquidated, they buy back. Same kind of thing. It's buying pressure, actually. Of course, initially there's some selling action that goes on, but that's okay. looking at everything, man, I would just think it's very normal for us to break out and then pull back through where the diamond broke out from. And we've done that a couple times throughout Bitcoin's existence here. Something I want to point out before we move on, okay? And I do think we're going lower in case it's not obvious. I want to point out something that's very simple, okay? And you might know this, you might not know this, but whenever you see this, you're moving up, you're starting a downtrend, you've got a 1, 2, 3-legged correction like that. If you're ever looking at it, and I actually traded based off this earlier, and it worked out very well. From a high to a low, look at if I put this line right there to that high, right here, right in line with that high there. Let's try and get it perfect. Right there, right? Do you notice how, and that's a little bit higher. Sorry, let's get it right there. Like perfect, basically perfect. You notice how we went down basically immediately right there. A little bit lower, sure, but if you noticed this, even if you noticed it like halfway through this move like I did, you would have understood that the price is probably going to come all the way down here. And you know, like at that point, going long, going short, whatever, like it's probably not worth trading in the chop. Maybe it is for some people, but if you're trying to catch the trend, a move like that, I feel like it was very obvious. And that little 1, 2, 3 kind of consolidation, that little 1, 2, 3, it can be a very good thing whenever you catch it right. It's not always like that, but let's just see if I can find another example. I mean, maybe here, right? You're moving up from your low to your high right here. If you put this at the low of that pattern, look at, I mean, it didn't go right there, but basically right there. You take that same kind of thing right there, boom, right there. You know, it's kind of how it works, kind of. Not always, but do you see what I'm getting? I'm not the best with my words. I like to think I am, but maybe by showing I'm a little bit better with that. Let's get into the 1 hour time frame, okay? We haven't even gotten to the 1 hour yet, you guys. 1 hour time frame here, also looking a bit bearish, right? You've got lower lows, you've got lower highs, rejecting the 60. Looking somewhat productive. You had bullish divergence here. I remember thinking that bullish divergence wouldn't play out, but hey, it looks like it played out. But there's nothing really to run with now, right? Rejecting the 60, you're not really doing a whole lot. You've got a higher high in the RSI with lower highs in the price. Oh, wait. Is that a lower high? It's a higher high. Okay, it is a higher high, but oh so slightly. You do have a rather bearish engulfing candle look at the moment. You know, 14 minutes left in this 1 hour time frame. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to stick with the bearish side. It looks like you're building volume to the downside, right? Right here, move down, volumes coming in, move down, more volumes coming in, moving down, more volumes coming in, but you didn't go anywhere. When you get volume, you don't go anywhere. Of course, you're going to have some reverberations. So I would anticipate that this next move takes us lower than this low. If we get more volume, that could be bad. What we want to see is a move down that has less volume, something that is of a lesser degree, right? If here's our last peak or here is our last peak, we want to see something that has less volume than either of those peaks there, right? Because then what that means is as we're moving down, we're getting less volume, the bears are waning, weakening, and it's probably a good time to go long, buy it up, and get ready for some mayhem over the coming days. Maybe by the end of this week, maybe. Going off of how we moved last time, again, we consolidated for a little bit of time. So if we consolidate for the rest of the week, the bull market's not over. It's just on pause, momentary pause, and that's not a problem. Yeah, it looks like we want to move down here. At the moment, you know, we got 13 minutes left in this 1 hour candle. It can come back up, and if it comes up and reverses, I mean, a lot of these candles, they've been very volatile, and it's like that last 15 minutes of the candle. That's whenever they actually make their move. Right, like this one was down for most of it, and then it came up. I remember I was watching it, but anyways, 4 hour time frame. 4 hour time frame here. Bouncing off the 40. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but here we are with 2 hours and 12 minutes left on this first 4 hour candle of the day. If this candle closes red, we effectively take a good thing, which is bouncing off the 40, and turn it into a bad thing, which is rejecting the 50. You bounce off the 40, you don't want to reject the 50. You want to get above the 50. Bounce off the 50. Keep going, right? You don't want to reject the 50. Now, if you reject the 50, does that mean you can't go higher? Sure, you can go higher. It doesn't mean that you can't go higher, but just it's not an ideal situation, right? Here, whenever you bounce off the 40 and you rejected, you had a little move, but it was a lower high, and inevitably you actually went lower than where you bounced off the 40, or maybe you went like right back down to that area. So just understand that at the very bare minimum, I would expect that we do return to some kind of area down here, something down at about 116.4K or lower. If we break below, if we have a 4 hour candle close below $116.4 thousand, first off, I'm gonna be psychic right here. Are you ready? So we close a candle. Let's say it's this candle. We close below here. Maybe it's next candle, whatever. Close below here. I bet the following candle wicks up, and then in the last like hour and a half, it'll come back down and go lower. It's because Bitcoin's been very, very volatile. But we get a close below about 116.4K. 116.39K technically. We get a close below there on a 4-hour time frame. I would assume that that implies that we're going lower. And how do we know how low we're going to go? We don't have really anything to base off the price here other than this one fib right here from a low to a high. So I want to look at this real quick. From this low, do I want to take this low? I might actually want to take this low. I'm going to take this low to this high here, okay? If that makes sense. I would rather do that, actually. That was my daughter, if you heard her scream. It's her nighttime. Some nights, you know, she goes down easier than other nights. I would think, my friends, that if we were to go lower, 115.6 to 114.8, that's a good area to go to. But keep in mind, with these smaller fib areas, and let's just throw on the other one just to see how close they are. I mean, that one's at 115 to about 114.3, so a little bit lower on that note. With these smaller fibs, it actually is more common to not stop in the primary target zone. The primary target zone defined as the 1272 to the 1618. Smaller fibs like this one, this range, you would expect to go to the 1886 to 2618. So that, I mean, we could go as low as 112.7. But I think something around 114K sounds right because, again, remember, when these longs get liquidated, if they get liquidated, they have to sell. So you liquidate all these longs here, it's going to add to that selling pressure. You're going to overshoot this area a little bit. You might go just below 114K. I don't know if we go all the way down to 112K, but time will tell. We'll see how it goes. Let's actually look and see what we've been doing, okay? Does that make sense? Let me show you. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's see. From a low here to a high there, we found support at the 1886, then we found support at the money zone. Found support at the 3618. Good to know. Okay. Okay. What about here? High to low. Because we're taking these small ranges to see how we perform. Went all the way up to the money zone again, twice. Look at that, twice money zone. That's crazy, back to back. So just with that notion, could we go to the money zone here? If we went to the money zone, that'd be 112 to 111.6K, you guys. So keep that in mind. We could go down there. If not there, I would think around 115K at least, if not lower. Okay, that's my expectation. I'm going to end the video there so that we can let the baby sleep and maybe cry it out while I wait for the next video there. She's just tired, guys. That's all. Yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Okay, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.